Tagaro Theodore Roosevelt attendant Jama, Don Sansuji, Laya Biro, Jishunira, Barakusu, Don Sansuji, Willavari. Taro attendant Janariba, Gurangani said an anti-bow in a down Janari. Don Sansuji net do. Don Sansuji, Pialan Swini Jam down to Janariba. Gusu, Don Sansuji ha. Attendant John Yashini Babi, Majagamaro, Dune, Swinry Pioso met down to Janari Shini, Saji Daiku, Shalarama. Daro Don Sansuji, Time in the Apipare. Don Sansuji would do so met down to Janari Dema, Gurangani be set at Antibono. How am I? Daro Don Sansuji go sound is Arab Pare. That Don Sansuji Lani Babi. Oh, Don Sansuji Maladi Bono to Jaunema Lepetishuni Lutia. The Don Sansuji and Amnit Yashi Lara Matabai. A good Don Sansuji, the Washington DC keys, the Zeta Binding, American attendant down the Kugu Laya Lila Rapipare, the Lujang Labiro, Tissue de Tapa, down to Janari, Daya Pianla, Yosu Sunima. Theodore Roosevelt, yeah. Saji Pipare. Kulu Nimananga, Nangano timing and Poku Don Sansuja, the Jango, through your town, Bono, Laya tissue that the John to Janari Nile, a logo, Salo Shabby, go to the John Lepiosu Vare.
She's going to visit.
Tomorrow, the media in Nelebono through the Matarania, your job, the range you can Mishiba. That's all. Tomorrow, Peter in the yard, he will be Yandala, Yayu, or Jason Dibare. Dara Don Sansuji Lama Holo Salo Shani, down to Janariva. I don't sense which life you did the room at the Yapiro, no support missing the hour. ဒေါန်ဆန်းစုကြည်ရောက်ရှိလာပါပြီ။
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aaron White, student here at Roosevelt High School, and hopefully the upcoming body president here at Roosevelt High School. I am honored to welcome Madam State Counselor, Madam Aung San Suu Kyi, here at Roosevelt High School. My peers and I are excited to hear more about you and to teach you more about our school and what we do here.
ဒါတောင်ဆန်းစုကြည်ကိုကြိုဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းပေါ့နော်။ကျောင်းသားတို့ကပြောထားတာပါ။
I can keep giving you a contact. I mean, I don't have to go in phone call. Thank you. Well, thank you for seeing me.
Can you hear me? Yes. Well, thank you for coming to letting me come to see you. The reason why I wanted to come here is because I've never been to a school in the States before. I lived here a number of years when I was working for the United Nations. I visited a number of universities, but never a school. And I'm interested in schools now, particularly because we're trying to reform the education system in our country. The big problem with our education system is simply that we're not able to find jobs for our graduates. We have a number, well, there is a huge percentage of children who drop out after they finish school. But even those who finish school or finish university, they can't get jobs. So this is a big problem, and we wonder whether there's anything we can do with our education system to resolve the problem. We want to focus on vocational training, and we think that this is the way to make sure that students are in a position to study what they're good at, and that they can use what they've learned to earn a living. So it should go straight through from education to work, but it should also be in line with the talents of the students themselves. So I wanted to hear what students have to say about this here in the US, because the US is still the most successful country educationally and economically speaking. I know we have many problems, but in spite of that, I think it's still retain a need in, when I say the most successful educationally, I mean that the United States is very good about discovery, about innovation, about research. So this is what I'm interested in. Why do you think that your, I suppose in a sense you could say that your higher education is a success, but is your elementary education, is your school's education as big a success as your university education? And if not, why not? And where do you think education should go with regard to preparing you for whatever challenges are thrown at you throughout life? That's what we think education is for, basically. And many ways of describing education, but we think that it should prepare you to meet whatever challenges you may have to meet, whether you wish to or not. And that should be what we aim towards. And I would like your ideas on what you think is good about your education system, or what you think needs to be done. And if you think it needs to be changed, why? Anybody, where there's anybody here of Asian origin, in my part of the world? No? Nobody? Makes it more interesting. So, why do you think we didn't need to go?
Hello. First, I would like to start off saying that it's an honor to meet you, and that I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but basically, what I think is good about the education here is that we take a lot of general classes that prepare us to face any challenges, really, and then we get to explore different classes that we might be interested in, that we can look for careers with. So let's say there's entrepreneurship classes, there's many different courses, and that's what I like about our school today. I like that we can venture different things like clubs, and it's just a lot of opportunities here at Rose.
There's one particular problem we have to cope with in my country. The boys are not doing as well as the girls. It's a big problem, don't laugh, because we really cannot get enough of our boys into higher education. More and more girls are doing better and better at a higher level, which means that more and more girls are getting into the better faculties in the university. So why do you think this is happening, and what can we do about it?
I think that there needs to be more encouragement with the boys. I think that maybe if there was more courses and, let's say, like more activities in the schools, maybe the boys will be interested and would want to come to school, because sometimes they don't find anything they like. So let's say if there was like sports and they're interested in sports, any type of sport, soccer, basketball, they would want to come. They'll be like, I have to get good grades so I can play this sport. So they will be encouraged to do so.
You think so? What do you like coming to school for now, as it is? I mean, the boys.
I have a question. I'm sorry. My name is Elsie. It's nice to meet you. And I would like to know what motivated you to run for office in your country.
Well, you mean run for political? I didn't want to run for political office. That wasn't the object of the exercise at all. We were living under a military government for a very long time, and this wasn't doing our country any good. Our education system had deteriorated over the years. Our people were getting poorer and poorer. There was a lot of disunity within the country. We are a country of 135 ethnic groups, and the ethnic groups are not getting on with each other. Some were in armed rebellion. There were so many problems. At one time, when we first became independent in 1948, we were colonized by the British back in the 19th century, and we became independent in 1948. After that, in spite of the fact that we had been through the Second World War, and we had really suffered a lot in the world, other than the war, a lot of destruction, we progressed very quickly. And we were considered one of the countries most likely, not one of the countries most likely to succeed in Southeast Asia. But actually, if you look at this today, we are the least progressive country, least developed country in Southeast Asia. We've fallen behind every other country, and this we think has a lot to do with the fact that we were under military dictatorship for more than half a century. And the reason why I entered politics was because I agreed with those who wanted to work towards restoring democracy in our country. Now I knew it because you have democracy in your country, you're born into democracy. Perhaps you don't think that it's a great thing, that it's something you take for granted. But you take it for granted because it's been given to you from birth, it's given to you in the freelance work. And we can't take that for granted. For example, now I'm 70. Once voted in a free election. Until I was, the military took over when I was 16. So of course I had not reached voting age when the military took over. And for many years there were no free and fair elections. And the first democratic elections we had after a long period of military dictatorship was in 1990. But at that time I was in the house arrest, so I was not able to vote freely. So the first time I was able to vote freely in my life was last year when I And 70, only at the age of 70, I was able to use my vote as a free citizen. Now for you, it's nothing voting, but it's very important. It's only when you don't have it. It's like eating. You take eating for granted until for some reason or the other you can't get food. Then you begin to appreciate the importance of food. How, you know, that what you take for granted, like just an ordinary burger is nothing ordinary at all. So this is why I started in politics, not to attain political office, but because we wanted to change the system, and it was a country had been struggling for so long. Well, I'm the boys going to tell you why I went to school at all.
I have a question. My name is Giovanni, but how were you able to stay under house arrest for so long? How did you get food and supplies?
Well, actually, I didn't have great difficulty staying under house arrest. It was quite nice to be able to read as much as I wanted to read. And you know, sometimes now I wish that you would put me under house arrest at weekends. I can get a bit of rest. I think it's to do with how, well, in a sense, how strong your inner resources are. And this is something perhaps that you acquire through education, through your family traditions, and perhaps there's something to do with your own nature as well. I'm quite happy to sit and read and try to survive by myself. It is not a big problem for me. I'm somebody who would come in to cook for me every day. Of course, I have to eat. I should do the shopping and she would come and cook and help me around the house and then she'd go back. There were the weekends she would take leave, so I would be alone for a couple of days. And there were times when she went on a longer period of leave. Then I would be totally alone for a week, 2 weeks. And that was interesting. Interesting because one takes it for granted that one would hear people, one would see people, even if you didn't talk too much to them. There would always be people around you. But you can't really take that for granted. I discovered that during those days when I was totally on my own. And it made me realize that really man is a social animal. Because even if you don't particularly think you want to talk to other people, it's nice to hear people sound. And one of the things I missed was hearing children. I never heard the sound of children before because the house on either side of my house, there were children there. And the street in front of my house is vulnerable, so nobody, we didn't really have children passing by. And that was one of the things I found very strange. Not hearing the voices of children, the sound of children playing, walking out. But on the whole, it is not very difficult for me, but I know that some people found it difficult to be on their own. They were used to going out. I think it's the going out, not being allowed to go out, that distressed some of us who are placed under detention. And each of us is different. You never know until you actually have to face that situation, and I hope you do. How well you would react to it, and how well you would manage to cope with it. But if you have a lot to think about, it helps.
How you doing? My name is Maurice. I wanted to follow up on your question about what will keep the boys to come to school and stay in school. I would first like to say that it's the same there in your country as here because most boys don't finish school, we tend to drop out. But it's just a matter of time where you realize that you actually need school, but it has to be interesting. So like Jesus said, we need some kind of sport or some kind of program that keeps the kid active and want to come to school. But if you don't have that, and they're not going to come to school, like I didn't start liking school until after my 9th grade, but once I came to Rhodes, I love school. I like to come to school. I come to school, no problem. But like yesterday, I missed school. I didn't want to stay home. I was so mad that I couldn't go to school because of the tragic accident. But I mean, if you have someone that's pushing you, like me and my fellow teammate right here, my coach, he pushes us. He wants us to do good. So it's just, you have to want good for yourself, and it's always good to have somebody on your back to push you. So the best thing would have some kind of activities. Just find out, just have all the boys get together and ask them what they like. And whatever they like, try to get it into the school where it will attract and make them come to school. So that will, 90% of the time, that will help your boys more graduate.
So yesterday when you couldn't come, what were you mad about? What did you think that you would be missing? What was it that you didn't like missing?
Well, for one, practice. I coach don't play. So one thing I was worried about coming to school the next day and hearing him yell and everything else, but it's out of love. But the one thing I mainly missed was I missed out on my AP class, my AP biology class. Because I didn't like it at first, my 9th grade year when I took it, but I got an opportunity to take it here again, and it's more interesting. As far as getting us having a new building, it opened up more doors for us to learn about biology even more. So I was kind of upset that I missed the class.
So you liked it, miss it, actually?
Yes. Yes.
Do you find that boys like particular classes more than girls?
It's not, I don't think so, but I would say that it all depends on, like I said, what the boy actually likes. Like here, you have an opportunity to switch your classes around and see what classes you actually need, but if you actually need, you have to take it. That's the downfall, but you actually need it. But you can actually, it's more, we have a lot of classes here, like culinary arts, 401s, and you know,
do you like culinary arts?
I didn't get to take it, but I wanted to. Get past it full. But we have people like our music teacher, Dr. V, who's a good influence around the kids and talks to us a lot. But other than music, I like his class too. I take him instead. So.
Do boys do better than girls in music? I think I'm told that this is one of the subjects where boys do better.
Maybe so, because you don't see a lot of females in the music, like in a band or so, but that's something a lot of boys like to do. Like I see a lot of boys here that's a part of the band. I don't see not too many females. I don't even think it's not one girl in the band.
Only one girl?
I don't think so. It's not one. Not one at all.
Not one?
Yeah.
Oh, why is that?
I'm sorry, you're pretty much up. But, well, you see, I'm a person who enjoys playing instruments, and, you know, it's kind of sad realizing that you don't see many females, because I didn't know there wasn't really females playing in the band. But if that's something that I can be in and I have time for, which I am working on to make time, that's something that I'd really like to pursue, because, you know, I like to do many things and I like to learn new things. And I think that's the thing that makes me want to learn is the motivation I get and the way I'm taught, because everyone learns different, and that's something that people often don't realize. And I think that if we can get motivated more and we can bring more awareness to certain things that we don't know. Like, for example, you mentioned that voting here isn't, you know, a big deal as to where you're from. And that's something that, you know, to me, you're telling me that now, I'm just like, wow, you know, maybe voting does make a difference, you know, somewhere else.
Oh, it does make a difference.
Exactly. But that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And, you know, for you to be here today and you to say something like that, you know, like, it's something that people need to realize that they should be thankful for rights and stuff like that. And, yeah, but back to, I kind of want to join band, but, you know, I like playing instruments. I play guitar, and for half a year I played saxophone, and it was kind of
was kind of easy, but it was kind of complex, had its moments. But it's kind of finding, when you find something that you want to do, it makes you realize that sometimes when it's challenging, that's when you want it most, because you realize you have a reason to. And so I feel like if we can, like I said before, we can motivate ourselves, then we can get to do things that will benefit us.
Why did you get her to join the band? You were being sick?
Hi, I'm Vijay. All I was going to say is that I'm in a band, and
Why?
I'm in a band. I play drums. It's on TV.
Did you just transfer?
No, I've been there since the first week.
No, I'm saying, well, this is your first year here.
Yeah, but I've been in the band before at my other school.
Okay, so you have the feeling.
Now she was one. I got two. But what do you play?
Drums. I used to play trumpet at my old school for 2 years, but then I decided to.
But in your old school, did you find that there were more boys than girls?
Yeah, it was lots of boys. They didn't really put girls in that class.
So I think perhaps you should encourage music classes to make it more interesting for boys. And also, I want the boys to feel that there are some things where they are better. It's a motivation. But another thing that I want to do is sports. You mentioned sports. How about girls? Did they enjoy sports as much as sports?
Soccer and basketball.
Sorry? I think you have to use the mic because
there's a girls' soccer and basketball team. I don't know about any of it. Cheerleading, volleyball. See, I'm kind of ignorant, not willingly to like girls' sports. I just hear about boys' sports. I'm in music, so yeah, there's pretty much a lot of girls' sports.
talking about voting that you mentioned just now, I must say the last elections, what we had to do was to really make our people understand that every vote was important. That each and every one must go out and vote and not expect his neighbor to do it for him. They need to say, well, he's going to vote anyway, I don't need to vote. So many people are going. If everybody thought like that, then there would be nobody at the polling station. And so we tried to make our people understand how important every single vote was. And one of the ways in which we did this was to say to them, this is the one day when each and every one of you who is old enough to vote and who is entitled to vote is as important as the head of state, or in our case the president, because he has one vote, you have one vote. So this one day when the absolute equal of your president to go out and vote and use this opportunity.
There's needed teachers, there are, it's a mixture, so, you can have one of the best, teachers, one of the best known teachers there, and they're almost like, they teach you a lot, and I just feel like, you can talk to anyone here, so it doesn't matter if it's a male or female.
Well, I'm going to ask a question. All this, I suppose each of you have a favorite teacher. The one you like best. All right. Those whose favorite teacher is a female, put your hands up. Where should it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down. And those whose favorite teacher is a male. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2 more. for the men, voting for the male teachers. Now, all right, you said that your favorite teacher is a man. Why? What is it you like about best about your favorite teacher?
How he explains lesson and
make your lessons interesting for you?
Yes, it does.
Is that mainly why you would choose, why you like your teachers best? Because they make your classes interesting, or because they understand you and make it easier for you to keep up with whatever you find difficult? Sorry?
Easier for us, I would say, because of all the like.
Charles, just wait a second for the
I mean, like I said, like, it's easier for us. Because as long as we get an education, that's a good part. But like, I mean, if you get an education, you know, a teacher who truly understands you and make the work fun for you. Because anybody can teach anybody. Like, just teach you anything out of the book. As long as you understand me and help me understand, then that's good. You know, I mean, good education is good reading on you. And yeah, so you get taught something both ways from you and the book. So yeah.
But it must be quite difficult for a teacher to be able to understand all his or her pupils. How many in each class? Small class.
It's really about patience when it comes down to it.
But within enough time. It is also a question of time. You need to be very patient, but if there are too many of you in class, teachers might give you individual attention.
Well, when the teacher is a good teacher, they care about the student's problems. I mean, they care enough to look into how they're feeling throughout the day. So the student isn't doing well, the student can tell when the student is happy or motivated to do something. And when they're not, the teacher, a good teacher, will encourage their students to continue and, not give up on something that's challenging. I feel like being a teacher is just about having love for children and wanting children to progress and succeed and learn. And that's what one of my favorite teachers does, I feel.
Because one of our problems is that we have, our classes are much too big because we cannot afford smaller classes. And we find that our teachers are not able to give individual attention to the pupils, and that does not really help the situation. They may be good teachers, but there is a limit to how much you can do if you have a class of 30 children and you only have 1 hour in which to teach them a particular, go through a particular problem with them, say a maths problem, which takes time, which is a little bit difficult. Then it would be a challenge, the teacher giving individual attention to each of the pupils who do not understand, who cannot follow. So what do you think about group work? If you are formed into different groups who work together, does that help?
It helps sometimes, but sometimes it's like there's some on the team who don't want to incorporate as much as others, and then those are the ones that create the problem because there's some that want to learn and there's some that aren't really as interested into the work. But I feel like as students, we have to help each other, and we also have to help ourselves. By helping others, we help ourselves. So we're working as a team. We have to motivate the rest of our team members to put in an effort.
But do you like teamwork in general, or do you prefer to do it on your own?
I feel that as if teamwork is a big part of education, not just only in education, but everything else. Like, let's say I'm a student athlete, so I have to put my part in education and sports. So let's say if I have a big soccer game, I have to make sure I get my things in class, because if you don't have everything right in class, you can't play. And, it's education first and then sports. So, sometimes if, a student isn't working well in class, or, teachers always have the time to come out to school and talk to the students and, I can help you with this and that. And, it's a good part about the school that they have their time to, help students either during their lunch break or, after school. And, that's how teamwork works. Everyone helps each other, and you just gotta put your part into it.
So you are in favor of teamwork on the whole. Now there's one question I'll ask you, which you may find very surprising. Does the school provide all of you with the books that you need? Everything that you need?
Yes.
Yes.
Books, pencils, compasses, everything.
Yes.
You know, this is something very, very difficult for many of us. In my country, it's difficult enough for us to provide even enough textbooks for the children. Textbooks you need, and notebooks. Even notebooks, we cannot provide enough notebooks for all our children. It's a challenge for us to be able to find the money to support our education system. Pencils, we're trying to, this you would think of, it's something surprising to you, but even pencils, we cannot provide all our students with enough pencils. Pens you can forget about it, we haven't got to that stage yet. And the more sophisticated the education equipment gets, the less we are able to supply our students with these. So this is a big challenge for us, simply providing the basic equipment that our children need to go through the most ordinary tasks. So you have no idea how privileged you are. You may think that yours is not a particularly privileged school, but from our point of view, this is a very, very privileged school. I don't think we have any state school in the country, in our country, which is like this. Private schools, yes, but not state schools. We don't have this kind of a building, we don't have these kinds of bookshelves and books and all the facilities, and certainly our children don't have all the books and pencils and all the education equipment supply. It's a struggle for each of our children to get educated. It's a struggle for us to educate each of our children.
I was over here kind of thinking, like, an idea, like, you know how you came here to see us and we're transferring ideas back and forth, questions back and forth. I had an idea, like, if there's a group of students out of Myanmar that come out of Myanmar, and like if they did music or if they did like poetry or if they like played a sport, and like they came to our country and went around the states displaying and showcasing what Myanmar is about and got people interested in front of the schools, I think that would be like really good.
Well, I was just going to suggest that perhaps you could team up with a school in my country and students of your age, and you'd be able to get to know each other, and we would invite you to come to visit, all of you, and then you could invite some of them to come to visit and exchange ideas and get to know each other, because I think we've got to build up understanding between different peoples and countries while you're still young. It always helps when you start young. You're much more flexible, you're much more open, and you learn so much more quickly. And I think you will then realize what your strengths are and what our strengths are, because then you will be surprised that you were asking, how did I cope with house arrest? There are a lot of people in my country who have to cope with harder things than house arrest. But they cope, and our children too. They have to make one of the big problems in my country now is that some of our children are badly stunted. They're very, very small for their age. I'm amazed because my generation, we were more or less of a sort of average size, not too big, but not too small either. But now, some of our children are undersized. I go and I meet a child on the street, I ask him, how old are you? Expecting him to say 8 or 9, he turns out to be 13, 14. So small. This worries me, and this is because of malnutrition. This is because our children are not. We have exchanges between students, and you will be able to understand the challenges that we have to face, and our children will be able to understand the challenges that you have to face. Because in some ways, there's a misunderstanding. Our children think that everybody in the United States is fortunate and rich and better off than we are, and there's no problems. But of course, you have yours. So I was going to suggest that perhaps we could arrange some kind of exchange program between your school and a school back in my country.
and perhaps this could be the beginning of similar exchange programs, so we can help each other to want to learn. This is a big challenge, that we want our children to want to learn, because we need to develop our country as quickly as possible to bring us up to the same level as our neighbors. We're not even speaking about the more developed countries. But so would you be interested in that kind of exchange program? Yes.
All right, so my question was, what do you know about the Black Lives Matter movement, and how do you suggest we stand up to injustice?
Please say that again.
What do you know about the Black Lives Matter movement, and how do you suggest we stand up to injustice?
You have to do it each individually, and also by talking to each other and building up a common strength. I founded a political party, and you were asking why I went to politics. I started running for a political office. We didn't run for a political office. We founded a political party. And what that taught us was that whatever challenges we have to face, whatever we need to stand up to, we do it better if we are together and if we share the same values and the same dedication. We went through a very bad period. Our party went through a very bad period when all our offices had to be shut down. The government shut down all our offices, and the only one that we managed to keep going was our headquarters. Now, headquarters is a grand word for a building. I think our floor space was less than half this room. We had a very small floor space from which to run our country throughout our party throughout the whole country. And every morning when we went to office, we had to ask who was arrested last night. This is something we had to take as a matter of course, that people would get arrested during the night. And if anybody had got arrested, then we had to find out where was he taken, and send our lawyers after them to try to help them. Now this is something we kept up for years. It was not one day, it was not 1 month, it was for years. But we managed to keep going, but because we believed that we could do it together. And we believed that we were working for something worth working for. So whatever it is you think you need to stand up to, I don't think anybody can do it alone. You have to have others who think safely as you do, and who are prepared to go to some trouble. I was under house arrest, but that's nothing compared to imprisonment. And I have colleagues who were in prison for 20 years. Now, 20 years in prison, some of them, they were in prison for so long that the children really didn't know who they were. I had one colleague who was kept in solitary confinement for about 3 years. He was not allowed to see anybody. At the end of that period, his family were able to allow to visit him. He couldn't recognize his son, because the son had been about, I think 11 when he first went to prison. And then he was 14. There's a big difference between an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. 14-year-old's a teenager. He's a big boy. And when his father saw him, he said, "Who's that?" He didn't know his son. Now that was pretty common. So, but these are the challenges that we faced and we managed to overcome because we believed in what we were doing, and we trusted each other. We trusted each other. We trusted our colleagues to stand together with us. So I would say that if you have to face anything, stand up to anything that's challenging, you need people with you, but make sure it's the right sort of people. that makes a lot of difference.
Hello, my name is Tion, and I would like to know if there was anything in the world that you would like to change, what would it be?
I suppose human nature. I would really like people to be kinder. That is the thing I found out when and we'll make through all these problems, that what we really, really learn to value is kindness. Kindness doesn't cost you anything, but it means a lot to whoever receives it. And a very precious commodity. There's somebody who was kind enough to come in and inquire with you something. Those were days when people were frightened. And if one member of your family had been taken to prison, some of your friends stopped coming to see you because they didn't want to get into trouble. They think that by visiting you, by staying close to you, they will get into trouble. And so, if there's one thing I can change in this world, I'd like to make everybody kind. But I suppose people could try to make themselves kind as well.
Hi, my name is Braden, and I would like to know, how would you define oppression?
Oppression is the desire, I think, to impose your will on others for yourself. You are trying to make people do what you want them to do, not for them, not their end cause, not for yourself alone. I think that's oppression. What do you think? How would you define oppression?
Well, I think oppression, kind of the same thing as you said, just kind of like taking over people for your own sake, for your benefits, because you want to do it, and as you said, not for the people, just because taking over someone else is like controlling someone else makes you happy, and you're benefiting yourself.
How about others? Do you agree with that? Why do you ask? Is oppression a big problem? Do you feel it's a big problem in society these days? Really? Is it, and when you say oppression, is it oppression to do with age in the sense of older people oppressing younger people, or is that what kind of oppression?
It's what we do. I would say it's like multiple different kinds of oppression. In terms of like some adults not hearing our kids because the kids said that, you know what I'm saying, like our voice don't matter, or in terms of either police brutality, other forms could be higher bullying, like there's different forms of oppression here. There's a lot of them too, but they're not little. So yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I've often wondered why people oppress others. What joy do they get out of it?
It's the joy of being in control, like power over another person. Power can make a person sick to the head. So that's how I think it is. I think it's like knowing that they're in control, and like you have power over some person, the person has power, can't do anything about it. That's something that can really make the person. Yeah.
All right, I'll go one further. What's so great about power?
Power? That's a good question.
Power. Just knowing that, like, I think power makes you feel bigger as a person. Like, you feel like you're more than like the existence within your body. Like, knowing that you can sit in this seat and control something out there, that's ego, and that's like, it's like, I think it's like sitting right here and knowing that you, like, something you say can change this whole school, like everybody in it, just because you have that power. I think that's what makes, I think people get addicted to that, and I think that's what makes power sense.
But don't you think that means that you really lack confidence in yourself? That you have to feel that you're somebody, and to make yourself feel that you're somebody, you have to oppress somebody else. Instead of being confident of your own strength because of what you have inside you. I ask because we have suffered from oppression, and we've wondered why people want power so much. I think basically for us, power means responsibility, and responsibility is very, very heavy. So from my point of view, power is not that desirable.
power. It's like well, let's say it's like carrying a lump of gold. All right, it might be gold, but it's heavy.
I'm sorry, we have time for one more question. One more question.
All right.
Good afternoon.